Well, our pieces are quite exclusive and expensive. Maybe you'd like to see something more affordable. Get ready. This story of prejudice, resilience, and an unexpected twist will keep you hooked. Leave a like on this video, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel for more impactful stories. The clock struck 3 p.m. as James Carter stepped out of his car and walked toward the entrance of the upscale boutique in the city center. The golden sign gleamed under the sunlight, reflecting the exclusivity and luxury the store exuded. For many, that place was a true shopping paradise, but for James, it was just another stop in his day. Dressed in casual workout clothes, with his skin still warm and a few grains of sand in his sneakers after an intense game of beach tennis, James carried himself with confidence and charisma. Despite his sporty appearance, his presence radiated authority and success. He had worked hard to get where he was, becoming a respected businessman. His goal was simple: to buy a special gift for his wife, Olivia Carter, in celebration of their wedding anniversary. As soon as he stepped through the automatic glass door, the scent of imported fragrances and the sparkle of the jewelry displayed in the showcases welcomed him. However, James noticed something all too familiar: the looks. Some employees exchanged quick glances of surprise as if trying to understand what he was doing there. Others simply ignored his presence. A sales associate, who was arranging a shelf of handbags, hesitated for a moment before resuming her task. The store manager, Richard Evans, watched from a distance, a skeptical expression on his face. Leaning slightly toward an employee, he muttered with disdain, "Look at that. Seems like someone got lost on their way to the sports store. I bet he can't even pronounce the names of the brands here." The employee let out a nervous laugh, trying to hide her discomfort. James ignored the looks and confidently walked up to the main counter. He knew exactly what he wanted. But at that moment, he had no idea that his mere presence in that store was about to become an unforgettable event for everyone there. The boutique, filled mostly with well-dressed white customers, seemed to have no space for someone like James Carter. He was a black man in an environment where his presence caused discomfort and surprise. To many there, it seemed as though he didn't belong, as if his mere presence was an anomaly in a space that appeared reserved for a select group of people. As he walked through the aisles, he noticed discreet glances from customers and whispered conversations among employees. A middle-aged blonde woman wearing a pearl necklace clutched her purse tightly when she saw him approach. A young couple whispered something to each other and then laughed. Richard Evans continued watching him from a distance, his expression shifting between disdain and impatience. He didn't need to say a word to make his thoughts clear. James didn't belong there. Finally, the manager decided to act. With firm steps, he approached and, without hiding his arrogance, said, "Sir, may I help you? Are you sure this is the store you're looking for?" The tone was polite, but the message was obvious. James knew exactly what was happening. He had experienced this before, in different places, at different moments in his life. It wasn't just about money. It was about race, about class, about a system that refused to accept that a black man could be successful. James held Richard's gaze, keeping his composure. "Yes, I'm in the right place. I'd like to see the new jewelry collection." Richard forced a smile, but his eyes betrayed his frustration. Well, our pieces are quite exclusive and expensive. Maybe you'd like to see something more affordable?" James paused for a moment, feeling a bitter déjà vu. If I were a white man, wearing the exact same clothes, would I receive the same suspicious looks? Would I still be treated with this subtle hostility? Nearby customers stopped to watch. Some waited to see how far things would go. Others, used to this kind of discrimination, simply looked away. James took a deep breath. He didn't have to prove anything to anyone. But at that moment, he decided this wouldn't be just another episode to swallow in silence. The atmosphere in the boutique had shifted. Silence settled in after James Carter's firm response confirming that he wanted to see the exclusive, high-end pieces. Richard Evans, irritated by the customer's confident stance, decided to double down on his hostility. He crossed his arms and let out a nasal chuckle. James didn't hesitate. "Funny, manager. I came here to shop, but it seems like you're here to entertain your customers at my expense. Oh, I see. You'd like to see the jewelry collection? He said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Well, I should warn you, we're talking about pieces that can cost more than a luxury car. But of course, if you'd like to take a look. Some customers exchanged glances. A low murmur spread through the room. James realized this wasn't just about price, it was about belonging. The manager wasn't just trying to discourage him from buying, he was trying to put him in his place. A young blonde sales associate who had been observing everything from a distance looked uneasy. She glanced between James and Richard, discomfort clear on her face, but she said nothing. Richard gestured toward one of the employees. Bring out that diamond bracelet just to satisfy our customers' curiosity. His mocking tone made a few people chuckle discreetly. James kept his gaze steady, unfazed. When the sales associate brought the jewelry on a velvet tray, Richard picked up the piece but didn't offer it to James. Instead, he turned to another customer. This is one of our finest pieces. Normally, we reserve items like this for our special clients, but I suppose I can make an exception. The mockery was unmistakable. James crossed his arms and gave a subtle smirk. He knew that this moment would define everything. The silence in the boutique turned into a palpable tension. James Carter crossed his arms, staring firmly at Richard. Interesting how you judge people based on appearance. But tell me, manager, if a white man walked in here wearing the same sports outfit, would he have received the same treatment? Or is the problem not the clothes, but the color of my skin? Richard Evans tried to maintain his composure, but his expression could no longer hide his discomfort. Some customers who had been quietly laughing before were now just watching, paying close attention to how the situation would unfold. Then, an unexpected voice broke the oppressive atmosphere. Mr. Carter? A young employee, Leah Brooks, stepped forward, her eyes wide with recognition. Excuse me for interrupting, but you're James Carter, aren't you? Richard frowned. So what? He asked arrogantly. Leah swallowed hard and looked directly at Richard. He's not just any customer. Mr. Carter is one of the largest shareholders of our brand. The impact of her words was immediate. Richard's face lost color, and a wave of surprise spread through the store. Customers who had previously watched with indifference were now whispering among themselves. Some employees exchanged nervous glances while Leah stood firm. James remained calm and composed. Now, manager, can we continue this conversation in a more professional manner, or do you still think I'm in the wrong place? Richard, stammering, tried to recover. Mr. Carter, I had no idea. Please forgive me for the misunderstanding. James simply gave a subtle smile, knowing the lesson had only just begun. Richard Evans was still trying to collect himself, but his tense posture and the sweat accumulating on his forehead betrayed his nervousness. The store was now completely silent. Customers and employees were all focused on how the scene would unfold. James Carter remained firm. Richard, you didn't just judge me based on my appearance. You tried to humiliate me. That says a lot more about you than it does about me. Richard opened his mouth to respond, but hesitated. He knew that any excuse would sound hollow. Before he could attempt to justify himself, the boutique's door opened, and a man in an elegant suit walked in. It was Jonathan Wallace, the regional director of the brand. He had been alerted by a phone call from Leah Brooks, who, outraged by what she had witnessed, decided to report the incident directly to upper management. I received a concerning call about what was happening here, Jonathan said, looking straight at Richard. Would you like to explain to me why one of our largest shareholders was treated this way? Richard turned pale. Mr. Wallace, it was a mistake. I didn't know who he was. Jonathan crossed his arms. And if he weren't a shareholder? Would you have continued with this unacceptable behavior? In our company, respect should never depend on status. James watched everything with a calm but attentive gaze. He knew this moment was about more than just his own experience. It had the potential to bring real change. Jonathan sighed and turned to James. Mr. Carter, I sincerely apologize for this unfortunate incident. We will make immediate adjustments to our team and take steps to ensure this never happens again. James nodded. I hope so, Jonathan, because prejudice has no place in any institution that truly values its customers. Richard was dismissed that same day, his departure marked by the awkward silence of the employees and the disapproving glances of some customers who had witnessed everything. As he gathered his things, his face carried the expression of someone who had finally come to understand the consequences of his actions. The young employee, Leah Brooks, who had the courage to recognize James, was promoted to supervisor. The boutique implemented internal training to ensure that everyone was treated equally. James chose an elegant necklace for his wife. As he walked out of the boutique, he felt that this experience had taught an important lesson, not just to Richard, but to everyone who had witnessed what had happened. The clock marked the late afternoon as James Carter arrived home, carrying a small, luxuriously wrapped package. What had happened at the boutique still echoed in his mind. Although he had gotten what he wanted, the true meaning of that experience went far beyond the object he carried. It was a testament to resilience, a symbol that he had not only endured, but reaffirmed his dignity in the face of adversity. Olivia Carter was waiting in the living room, flipping through a book, but she stood up when she saw him. So, did you find something special? She asked with a curious smile. James handed her the package with a meaningful look. Yes, but it's not just about the gift. It's about what it represents. Olivia carefully unwrapped the box, revealing an elegant, delicately crafted necklace. Her eyes sparkled, not just because of the piece itself, but because of the effort and love behind its selection. However, she noticed something more in her husband's expression. What happened? She asked, gently holding his hand. James sighed, sitting beside her. When I walked into that store, I was treated as if I didn't belong there. They tried to humiliate me, to diminish me. But in the end, the truth came out, and the lesson was learned. Olivia squeezed his hand firmly. And you walked out of there the same way you walked in, strong, dignified, and at the top because of your own merit. He smiled, feeling the weight of her words. Exactly. And the best gift I can give you isn't this necklace. It's the certainty that no matter the obstacles, we keep winning. Not because we need to prove anything to anyone, but because we know who we are. She ran her fingers over the jewelry and then gently touched her husband's face. That's worth more than any luxury. James leaned in and kissed her softly. The gift was beautiful, but the true wealth was in the strength and love that bound them together. As they embraced, he knew that this experience had not just been a lesson for the boutique employees, it was a reminder that dignity and respect are non-negotiable. And in the end, some battles are won not just with words, but with the way we move forward, unshaken. This story showed us that dignity and respect are worth more than any luxury. James faced prejudice with his head held high and proved that no one can define his worth by what he wears or the color of his skin. If this story moved you, leave a like, subscribe to Stories for You, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our impactful stories. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in James's place? I want to hear your thoughts.